The Chicago Seven were political radicals that were accused of the conspiracy to incite the riots that occurred at the 1968 Democratic National Convention that took place in Chicago. The case drew national attention for the artists and activists that testified as witnesses. On August 28, a minor fight between protesters and police culminated in a bloody melee, meaning a fistfight on the streets outside of the convention center. 8 protesters were charged with conspiracy: Abby Hoffman, Rennie Davis, John Froines, Tom Hayden, Lee Weiner, David Dellinger, Jerry Rubin, and Bobby Seale. However, Bobby Seale got off the hook easily than the other 7 men that were charged of withholding conspiracies. This quickly degenerated into a stage for high drama and political posturing. Prosecutors stressed the defendants' ties with subversive groups like Students for a Democratic Society, the Youth International Party, and the Black Panthers. Defense attorney William M. Kunstler countered by calling a series of celebrity witnesses. The trial took place in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. This was an ongoing trial that occurred for 6 months from September 24, 1969 to February 18, 1970. According to observers, the judges that were assigned to this case rejected many of the pretrial motions of the defense counsel, but granted those made by the prosecution. Even though the judge had hostility, Hayden hoped to win the trial by observing the courtroom decorum and logically refuting the prosecution's case. Many other defendants weren't taking this case too seriously. Bobby Seale, defending himself, spent 3 days in court bound for his frequent outbursts. His case was later declared a mistrial. The jury found 5 of the other 7 defendants guilty of crossing state lines to riot, but these convictions were reversed on appeal. At the trial's conclusion, a jury of 10 whites and only 2 African Americans were acquitted conspiracy charges. However, they found Hoffman, Rubin, Dellinger, Davis, and Hayden guilty of crossing state boundaries with the intent to incite a riot. Froines and Weiner were acquitted of all charges. Judge Hoffman sentenced the other 5 defendants to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine, and he sentenced all 7 defendants, plus their attorney, William Kunstler, to prison terms for contempt of court. The contempt convictions were reversed on appeal in 1972, and in a separate appeal that same year, all the criminal convictions, except Seale's, were also overturned. The appellate court cited, in part, the judge's deprecatory and often antagonistic attitude towards the defense, according to Britannica.com. After the success of their appeal, the Chicago Seven went their separate ways. Hayden became active in California politics. Abby Hoffman went into hiding during the 1970s to avoid prison on a cocaine charge. He eventually emerged in 1980 and served a year. Rubin became a businessman and worked on Wall Street in the 1980s. Dellinger, the oldest of the Chicago Seven, at age 54 in 1968, continued his work as a peace activist. Davis became a public speaker on motivation and self-awareness. Froines taught at the University of California in Los Angeles, and Weiner remained an activist primarily on behalf of Jewish causes. The 8th defendant, Seale, became a writer and lecturer and continued to work against racism. Overall, this trial was a huge impact within that time period, and this trial reflects to what our society is in present day, especially through the media and headliners.
During that time period, there were many other things going on along with the trial. The Black Panther Party, which was a national mobilization to end the war in Vietnam, was founded in 1966. The Black Panther Party quickly became a threatening force and gained over 300 members within 4 months of its foundings, because many young Black Chicagoans identified with the Panthers' militant denunciations of racism, capitalization, and police brutality. Moreover, the Black Panther Party's programs presented a political threat to Mayor Richard J., who distinguished the party's service project as an attempt to preempt the authority of City Hall. In just 2 years, the Black Panther Party's image also prompted federal and local authorities to raid Panther property on separate occasions in 1969. Police and Panther had engaged in 8 gun battles nationally, which led to 3 police officers dying and 5 Panthers dying. Four of the shootouts took place in Chicago. Without powerful leadership and a broad base of community support, the Chicago Black Panther Party could not weather the internal differences that saved the group's remaining resources.
After the riots, a single band member named Graham Nash, who is part of the Crosby, Stills, and Nash Young Band, released a song named Chicago, which reflects the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The lyrics in this song have many references to the Chicago 7 members. Graham Nash and the rest of his band members had different beliefs when it came to the Chicago 7 trial. In this song, Nash is trying to say that the world needs more freedom and less regulations. One of the lyrics speak of the eighth member, Bobby Seale. In the courtroom, Seale was gagged and bound to a chair. The band's member sings, "Though your brother's bound and gagged, and they've chained him to a chair, won't you please come to Chicago just to sing?" He is trying to communicate that what happened to Seale was unfair. At this point, it is obvious that society did not have much of the freedom that we have today. Through these lyrics, Graham Nash is trying to send an important message out to society. He is supporting the Chicago 7 and wants society to know that they can rearrange the world. It is designed to get better.
There is no peace in our society even today. In today's educated world, still we can protest peacefully like 1968 trial. A protest in Syria shows that how protesters being shot during protest. As activist claims, 13 killed just miles away from Arab-led U monitors. Dramatic footage has emerged that shows unarmed Syrian protesters fleeing from live gunfire of nation's security force. 40 years later, Chicago 7 trial is still an iconic event, a perfect storm of political unrest, generalization, conflict, and a biased judge set the stage for a 1969 trial that is still memorable 40 years later for its drama and iconic impact. Participants in an American Bar Association panel told a standing room only audience, students protesters are key to ending racism in America. From Brown University to the University of Oklahoma, recent students' demonstrations have highlighted the deplorable persistence of racial discrimination in our nation. Though American culture has transformed in the past few decades with increased diversity in certain spaces, it is unreliable that inclusion and inequality continue to pervade all major institutions. Higher education include even after 56 years, still racism exists.
So your brother's bound and gagged, and they've chained him to a chair. Won't you please come to Chicago just to sing? In a land that's known as freedom, how can such a thing be fair? Won't you please come to Chicago for the help that we can bring? We can change the world. We are ready. Sit yourselves down, there's nothing for you here. Won't you please come to Chicago for a ride? Don't ask Jack to help you, cause he'll turn the other ear. Won't you please come to Chicago for all must be free.